after naming Bo Nix the starter, should the Broncos go out and make a splash trade for 49ers wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk? Let's discuss the possibility of Denver kind of entering the chat, which has been open for a while, and it doesn't even seem to have even remote idea of when it's going to end. The chronicles of the Brandon Aiyuk trade saga could make another turn if Denver picks up the phone and makes a call. Now, let's give some background information on Brandon Aiyuk. If you don't know, here's what's going on. He has been holding out/in. Sometimes he's at practice, just standing to the side. Sometimes he's not. It's kind of just a bag of both those things, and it's not good for the 49ers, of course, but that's for them to cry about. Now, he's entering the final year of his rookie contract. It's that fifth and final year option. He turned 26 years old back in March. He was a second-team All-Pro player last year in an offense that ranked 32nd in pass attempts. So clearly a very skilled player in an offense that doesn't give him a plethora of opportunities. So why would the Broncos enter the sweepstakes now? All the reporting over the last 3-4 weeks has been Steelers at number one, probably. Browns and Commanders were loosely interested. Patriots were interested as well. And that's pretty much been it. But, I mean, is this your first time in the NFL? This is a very NFL caliber thing to do where a couple of teams are in for one guy and then a dark horse emerges at the last moment. So, why enter now? Because you got Bo Nix. And you know what you roughly have in him, right? You know that he looks the part so far. It's preseason football. He's playing against backups. So, don't want to make too big of a deal out of 23 for 30, 205 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But, I mean, he definitely looks like he is on path to be a franchise quarterback. As premature as that sounds, it's better than 15 for 30, 112 yards, and no touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So there's probably a lot more confidence in the Broncos' upper brass, on Bo Nix than there were just a few months ago when they never saw him play in the preseason. So if Denver and Sean Payton and George Payton and the rest of the crew believe in Bo Nix, well, they should build around him, because it's not very often that 26-year-old all-pro wide receivers land on the market. And right now, there is a trade that could be had for Brandon Aiyuk. And we know that Sean Payton is aggressive. He is not looking to rebuild. He wants to win right now. He wanted to win his first preseason game here, right? He really stressed about how important it was for Denver to win these preseason games in year one. We're seeing it so far in year two. So if Sean Payton is not entertaining a rebuild, well, then why wouldn't they approach the 49ers for Brandon Aiyuk? I mean, look at what he's done so far throughout 4 years in the NFL. He comes off back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, 15 combined touchdowns. He put up 1,300 yards off 75 grabs. That's almost an average of 18 yards a reception. I mean, sometimes when you see numbers like that, it's a really small sample size where the guy had 10 grabs. And you're like, okay. But 75 grabs, that's a pretty big sample size. 18 yards a reception, that is ridiculously high. That tells me he's an explosive playmaker. Think about the Broncos offense for a moment. Is there a lot of explosiveness in the wide receiver room? Not really. How about in the running back room? Not really. How about the tight ends? Definitely not. So you are looking for an explosive playmaker in a league that is chasing explosive plays. Brandon Aiyuk is that. Now, if you're not in the camp of trade for Brandon Aiyuk, maybe this next part might sway you a little bit. I did some research, and what I found was there are 27 players who since 2000 have had 3,900 plus yards and 20 plus touchdowns combined in their first 4 seasons. I want you guys just to look at the names on screen here. Any of them jump out to you as pretty good players? Like Calvin Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, A.J. Brown, A.J. Green. These are really good players, right? CeeDee Lamb, Michael Thomas, Mike Wallace, Justin Jefferson, Brandon Cooks, Julio Jones, Greg Jennings. So safe to say, this is a pretty good company to be in. 3,900 plus yards and 20 plus touchdowns in their first 4 seasons. I don't think there's a single outlier there. I mean, half of those names feel like they're destined for Canton, and the other half were bona fide Pro Bowl players. So the point I'm trying to make here is there's basically a nearly 0% chance that Brandon Aiyuk just falls off a cliff. If you're like, there's no way he's going to be this good moving forward, look at everyone else that put up 3,900 yards and 20-plus touchdowns, just like Brandon Aiyuk did in his first 4 seasons. All of them were really good receivers and stayed really good. And going back at that list one more time, Brandon Aiyuk, just for reference, he was dead last in targets amongst all 26 other receivers. Give him a little bit bigger of a workload, and he's going to give you a lot more production. If that's not enough, just a fun fact here, Brandon Aiyuk, through his first 4 years in the NFL, has 25 career touchdowns. That would tie Brandon Marshall in franchise history for most amount of receiving touchdowns in 4 years. I would say Brandon Marshall was a very good wide receiver in the NFL. Wouldn't you? So if that's the company he's in right now, if that's the range he's in, I think if you know what you're getting, if you're getting a Brandon Marshall type of production on the field, that seems like a worthy trade in my eyes. So what would it cost? The 49ers are not going to do a deal if they don't get a receiver back. They are absolutely in win-now mode. They cannot afford to give away Aiyuk and not get an immediate impact player in return. So likely Courtland Sutton is the man that goes to San Francisco. You're also going to have to pony up, I would think, a first-round draft pick and then a future early day 3 pick. I know it's a lot, but it's a 26-year-old all-pro wide receiver who comes off a record season for himself in an offense that ranked dead last in pass attempts. Could you imagine the yards and touchdowns he'd put up if they were just 20th in pass attempts? So let me know, would you do this trade? Give me a yes or a no in the comment section. Bo Nix gets Brandon Aiyuk as his wide receiver 1 as he enters 5 years of rookie control and has a bona fide superstar receiver. And the 49ers get Sutton, who is aging, 2 years left on his deal. The Broncos would get that money off their books, but they'd have to pay Aiyuk, which we'll look at in a moment. And it's not cheap. I'm not going to just gloss over a first-round draft pick, but I mean, you use first-round draft picks to get guys like Brandon Aiyuk, and that's just a crapshoot. Sometimes it works. Most times it doesn't. Here's a known commodity. GMs love known commodities. I would do this trade. If you're unsure about it, close your eyes and think notification pops up on your phone because you have noties on. It says Broncos Breakdown. OMG, Denver trades for Brandon Aiyuk. Holy shit. Probably won't be like that. Tell me what your instant reaction is. It's probably yes. Hell yes. So I'm for it. Now, there is the second part of the Brandon Aiyuk trade, which would be an immediate contract extension because the 49ers have given Aiyuk and his agent permission to speak to other teams because no team's going to trade for him if Ayuk's not going to agree to an extension they offer. They want that done before the trade, actually. And then they can approach the 49ers about fair trade compensation. So Aiyuk reportedly is looking for a contract that starts in the 3s. Like, I think he wants that first number to be a 3, and they'll go up from $30 million a season, which would either tie him with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Tyreek Hill, or it would put him slightly below A.J. Brown or even above A.J. Brown. I don't think Aiyuk or any team is going to give him anything like $35 million with Justin Jefferson got. Here is the offer that I could see maybe Denver making / a blueprint for a extension for Aiyuk. 4 years, $126 million. That's an average of $31.5 million, which would make him the 3rd highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. But the guaranteed money is, I think, the thing that you should look closely at. $90 million guaranteed. The Denver Broncos have the richest owners in the National Football League, and it's not even close. You can combine 2nd and 3rd, and the Walton Penner Group is still richer. $90 million guaranteed is nothing to them. To other GMs, that's a lot of money. $90 million guaranteed means that owner has to have $90 million in cash set aside in an escrow account in a certain amount of time. Not all GMs can just whip up that much cash. Like the Bengals cannot. Why do you think they're dragging their feet with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins? Like some rich owners can, well, they're all billionaires, but some are like elite level billionaires. Others are, we own an NFL team because it's our family business, but we don't have like a side business. The Broncos ownership, the side business is the Broncos. They have Walmart. That's what makes all the money. So if you've got the richest owners in the NFL, that would have no issue with dishing out $90 million guaranteed if Sean Payton tells them this will make us a winning football team. And then you factor in Bo Nix, who looks like he's the real deal so far, and Sean Payton, a Super Bowl winning head coach. How could not this? How did all three parties not get on board with this? I'm losing like literally the words coming out of my mouth, thinking how this doesn't happen. So Brandon Aiyuk, keep an eye on him. Now the other factor into this that I kind of saved for the end of the show conveniently is he kind of has a say in this, right? If he tells the other team that's trading for him, I don't want to go there, don't trade for me, I'm not going to sign a contract, well, they're probably not going to trade for him then. So I don't know if Brandon Aiyuk has an interest in going to the Denver Broncos, not because that'd be a bad place to go, but he might want to go somewhere where he doesn't have to play with a rookie quarterback. He might want to go somewhere that's a little bit more established and not an up-and-comer. So that remains to be seen, but $90 million guaranteed, that could quickly change his mind. Make sure to subscribe, by the way. Do not miss a single piece of Broncos news and rumors when you hit that sub button down below. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. We're going to be live for the Broncos preseason finale against the Cardinals, so come on by 30 to 60 minutes before kickoff, and we'll see you all then.